Hello there, welcome to my channel. Those of you who are new, that is of course, if you're returning I apologise, I've been away for a hot minute. Where I've been? Well, there's no excuse, you can find out over on Dextrius Live where I've been. I've been playing a lot of Helldivers. I really like the game. Helldivers 2 is very fun. Released on the 8th of Feb 2024, Helldivers 2 is a continuation of the first Helldivers, which I have never played. I am not going to lie and make myself sound cool. That being said though, it is where I go to whenever I'm not being asked to bully other VTubers on Overwatch.
Dex is a definition of skill issue. Thank you very much. Yes, he is.
I'll skill issue you now.
He's very competitive in everything, not so bad.
Exactly. I'm a competitive sex haver.
Zihan, are you gonna play a prank on anybody for April Fools? Bro, competitive sex Huh? Wait, what?
How do you rate it? How do you rate it?
Competitive sex haver is a wild statement to hear when I show up to lurk. Who said that? Did that go over my head?
Sorry, ignore it.
Dex, did you say that?
No. Now, since I'm quickly approaching level 50 with the capture of Malevolent Creek and the soon-to-come third faction, I figure what time is better than now to make a video about Helldivers. What I think of it, how the fun I've been having, that sort of thing. Now, when I first started the game, I'm not gonna lie, I was getting bodied left and right. Hell, I died to the turrets in the tutorial level. Soon after, I got to learn what a team kill was. And as I raised the levels and unlocked more equipment, I grew to realise that I'm just as ineffective as day one. And I loved every second of it. Assuming you're watching this with the view of no knowledge of the game, I'll put it like this. You will die. You'll probably die to your friends just as much if not more than the enemy, and you will do it again and again. Hell, this tooltip's quite accurate. Everything here will kill you. Friendly fire, dead. Team bombardments, dead. Enemies, dead. Enemy corpses, dead. Your own stratagems, dead. Your stratagem tubes, dead. Your friends reinforcing, dead. Mines, plants, falling off a ledge, guess what? Dead, dead, dead again. You are squishy, and everything is lethal. This is what it means to jump into hell. But another quote applies to this from another franchise that's rather similar to this one. Your job isn't to jump feet first into hell, it's to make sure it's crowded once you get there. To help you with this, the game gives you near enough everything you're going to need to spill oil across the stars, be it automaton or terminid. Orbitals, tertiary weapons, airstrikes, emplacements, and those other such tools to help you dispense democracy. Now, you might fear team killing, and while it is a thing, no one's rewarded for doing so. Everyone shares samples, everyone shares rewards, and you're only punished if people can't evac, with everyone being punished equally. And even if you can't evac, you don't lose out on any of the rewards anyway. But okay, I don't want to spoil it too much. Just know that the gunplay is fun, the gameplay is fun, you can destroy near enough everything like an unstoppable juggernaut until you get checked. But what's made this game really special to me was the fact that Arrowhead, the developer behind Helldivers, has taken a new approach to live service storytelling. See, games allow for dynamic storytelling. Movies and books are taken as they're created. The story is already made and ready to be consumed upon its release. Games do this as well, but in recent years, thanks to the advent of live service and DLC and updates, they have the added option of letting the story sit in the background to focus on the gameplay itself. A lot of games, for example, even in the past, allowed a hidden story or obstructions, and you need to actually go search out the story to figure out what it is. Now, Helldivers take that latter approach to dynamic story building in the background, such as data logs and missions and in-game news bulletins that give minor hints to lore. However, Helldivers does something very few games do. They do what I like to call adaptive dynamic storytelling. I want you to think back to games like the Telltale Studios would make before they went belly up. They used to make games where your actions supposedly had consequences and would affect the story. This made your actions feel meaningful, like you weren't actually on a track like most games with one end, but rather multiple tracks with several ends. Now, this is common a lot these days, especially with more open games like Baldur's Gate 3. However, I would describe Helldivers more like everyone is on the same train, but we derailed from the tracks long ago and now we are drifting across the ice like the Polar Express. In other words, we have no idea how this story is going to end because it's being written as we speak. In fact, I'll give you a better analogy. It's more like D&D. We are the players and the DM is Arrowhead Studios and cough cough some guy called Joel. Now why is this? Every game you play, and every success you achieve will add to the capture of a planet you're taking, you're liberating it. New weapons are explained as, say, awards for capturing planets like the mech, or new achievements in enemies due to them taking or losing of planets. The resistance to the Terminids being due to protections on the barrier planets or other such factors. And much like a DM who has spent far too many hours preparing materials for their games, they want to push the players in a direction so they can use them. And the devs do this by releasing major directives. This is their way of saying, you know, go check out that faction or that planet, go take it out, because then you're going to get a reward for it. And of course, if you do so, you can get a bunch of medals as well. So players are incited to go and do exactly as they're told, really. And as a scriptwriter myself, I find that this is fantastic works of smoke and mirrors. They've done it to such a degree that you wouldn't actually even notice that all of this is a cover-up to release maps, new enemy types, new weapon types, new mech types. They can release these things to players in what would be updates, but use the lore itself to be reasoning. It's not just things suddenly appear out of the sky, they're actually in the game and the players fight for them. And if the player base fails to do so, then the devs can also poke fun at them in the lore, for example, banning, you know. Now, don't get me wrong, I have to be fair, there are still some negative aspects of the game. A lot of it you can put by the by. I mean, team killing's a big thing, but there are maybe two of the biggest issues that are mainly community-sided that I think we can't ignore. The first one is people kicking you. If you're going to join a high-end game, you're going to be dropped in right in the middle of the firefight. And I've had it happen a couple times where I've been dropped in and I've been killed and I've been kicked because I've died right off the bat. There's nothing you can do about that, but it does get worse when you've been playing a match and you go all the way through and you've got all the samples and you're ready to go, and then the host, out of some sort of sick glee, decide to kick you from the game just before you get to the ship, just making sure you don't get the rewards for all your hard work. The solution to that, I think, would be that you get rewarded for the time you spent in the mission and then the reward you gathered, assuming that they make it out. But honestly, I don't know how the devs have implemented it. So, and I'll also say it's happened very, very few times in my, 90 hours of playtime. I think in reality the bigger issue is what's considered meta. There was a whole argument about this, was it last month or so, before the nerfs, where a lot of people were using the shield and railgun because the railgun was quite busted. You could take out most things with just a single shot. And the devs didn't really like that, the fact that you'd have just a single weapon that was like a use-all weapon. From what I understand of what the devs have said, they've been wanting you to pick weapons based upon the mission you're doing. Certain weapons and certain stratagems are better for others. For example, emplacements are good on, the elimination missions where you got to take out a large group of enemies that are coming after you. But also at the same time, people were right at the time that there was very few options to taking out the bigger enemies. Every time you release things, there will be a shift in the balance of things. So what's considered balanced will change as new things come out. So it's going to be an issue that will never truly be resolved. The devs have to fight endlessly. But as long as they're trying to make whatever's in the game balanced, I think it's only fair. And honestly, the devs have got a great track record of the community support, so I'm not too fussed about that front. That being said, however, what is currently powerful? Well, right now there's been a couple releases since that entire nerf set. And the most used weapons right now that I find people using are the Las-16 Sickle and the Las-99 Quasar Cannon. See, the reason for the Sickle is you've got an unlimited ammo. It's the same as the assault rifle classes, except you don't need to reload. Like all laser weapons, it's a heatsink, so it will just cool off and then you can keep firing. Then you got the Las-99, which I think in reality is a lot like the expendable launchers, except you don't drop it. And it also has unlimited ammo. So a lot of people have been rocking the Sickle and the Quasar, but as we've moved further away from the update, I've seen less and less of it. So the question really is, now you want to know, what do I use? Okay, this part of the video is going to get very nerdy, so if you don't know much about the game, or you're not interested about like kits and, trying to make things work, you can probably just skip it. Truth be told, this is just what I like to use, and if you go over to my Twitch, you will find me typically rocking a kit somewhat like this.
Oh, Jesus! Oh, God! Oh, Jesus! God! Oh, Mary, Mother of Jesus! Jesus of Nazareth!
On higher difficulties, of course, I use the Sickle and Quasar, but not often. I focus on a stealth build. Stealth in this game is crazily overpowered. Why fight an endless swarm of enemies if they don't see you? You don't have to shoot down reinforcements if there's no reinforcements to call. See, you're not rewarded for kills, only objectives. As such, for armor, I currently use the SC-30 Trailblazer Scout. Generally, you are looking for a scout passive, And if you are, let's say, a lower level, the SC-34 Infiltrator does this. Now, the main point of using a scout set is they're typically light armor. They've got, you know, your faster stamina recharge and more stamina, so you can run further. But you have very light armor, which means that if you get shot, you're probably going to die. However, if they don't see you, then you're not getting shot at. That's the goal of the scout, avoid getting caught. As part of the scout passive, you get a 30% reduction to enemy detection, which is nice, but the real secret is the ability to scan ping. People do not use this enough, and it confuses people when I use it. But if you look at your minimap and you drop down a pin, you can scan an area, and it'll do it as long as the pin's there every 2 seconds. So the beauty of this is if you're going to attack a base, you can drop a pin down and you and all your buddies can see what enemies in that area. It's really good for the higher difficulties as well, because it doesn't matter how many enemies there are, as long as you can avoid them being detected, then you don't have to fight them. So the scout kit is crazy good, but if you're going to use it, you need to have a weapon that kills in as few shots as possible at a long range. And of course, that comes to your sniper classes. The snipers are very underused. Most people are rocking assault rifles or laser weapons or shotguns. But for me, I use the R63 CS Diligence Counter Sniper, and the reason being that it's now been buffed to medium armor penetration, which is nice and all, but I was using it before there anyway. So the obvious secret there being that if I'm going to attack a place or get the loot, let's say there's 3 enemies around, I can probably kill them pretty cleanly before they call in reinforcements, and I don't have to even be in the area. The sidearm I'll bring, of course, is, as everyone does, the P19 Redeemer. It's such a high fire rate that you get close combat, you're going to be using the secondary, it does the job well. And then a G16 impact because the impact grenade saved me so many times. But for stratagems, again, much like with the main class, I like to use a bit of the unorthodox. My favourite stratagem is the spear. Now, I know people are saying if people play the game like, no, do not use the spear, the tracking's terrible, and oh god, it don't kill things, it's got very few ammo. Yes, but it has one of the highest armor penetrations. In 5 spear shots, you can take down that new walking factory. I've tested this, it didn't even get anywhere near me. I took it out across map. It has a very long range for lock, and if you use against fabricators, as a scout, you are running around the map wiping out so many bases before they have a chance to cause any issues. So when I'm rocking on high levels, a spear, scout armor, and then the marksman sniper, if I've done it right, I don't ever have to really properly enter any combat or stay in any long form of firefight. Alternatively, if I'm not rocking the spear, I'll probably be rocking the jetpack and then the quasar, because the jetpack is great for the sniper classes. It lets you get to areas of high ground. It'd be great if I could use the jetpack and the spear, but that's a bit overpowered. And the quasar is just great for taking out any reinforcements that come in. Or alternatively, I'll use a shield, because the shield is still pretty busted. People still sleep on it. I mean, your armor doesn't matter if the bonuses from the shield's the exact same. And aside from that, I'll use a 500 kilogram bomb, because I get 2 of them at max level with all of my upgrades. Or maybe I'll use the orbital laser. And then maybe I'll lock in with mortars and EMS mortar strikes or autocannons. Those being my main go-to emplacements. So that's the kind of kit I use. And then if I've got a spare, I might actually bring in the mech as well, because the mech, it does die fairly quickly, quite frail, but it does pump out a lot of damage. So if you're about to enter a fight, then I'd like to enter with a mech, you know, fighting side by side. This all being said, there is an obvious glaring weakness of this entire class setup. While I can kill enemies and wipe out bases in a different postcode from me, should I get ambushed or get stuck in a long form, drawn out firefight, or maybe someone just being a git runs up to me and brings an entire horde my way, there ain't much I can do. I am a sitting duck. If played right, you can, within 20 minutes, have wiped out near enough every base on the map, but if you play it wrong, then you're just going to end up wasting tickets and dying all the time. But anyway, that's my class, and that's my setup, and that's my general view. The game's great, and if you would like to see me playing it, you can go over to my other channel, Dextrius Live, or my Twitch, where I go live over at twitch.tv/Dextrius. Right, well anyway, thank you for dropping by, and I shall see you all next time.